Time. Let's talk about class. The UK TV industry has been too squeamish to discuss what it means to be working class and has excluded it from all those obsessive discussions about diversity. Who said this? Well, a leading TV writer, James Graham. He's been behind the TV shows Quiz and Sherwood, as well as a hit play, Dear England. He's been speaking at the Edinburgh TV Festival, giving the MacTaggart Lecture, and he said that class was everyone's least favourite diversity and representation category. And he's quite right, is he not? Well, let's talk about this with Ali Ross, who's TV critic at The Sun. Good afternoon to you, Ali.
Hey, Julia, how you doing?
Very well indeed. Thanks for joining us. You know what's so funny is the entire break, we're having a big conversation. Me, Philip Ingram is in the studio, and the guys in the control room asking, what class do you all think you are? What class? And it's really interesting, like, who would describe themselves as working class or middle class, low middle class, whatever, And this country is obsessed with class in a way that no other country seems to be. But it's fascinating that the people who are obsessed with diversity, representing everyone from every background and skin colour and religion and age, they couldn't give two hoots about class, could they?
That's the thing. Well, James Graham says it's down to squeamishness. I would say it's just down to a basic loathing of the working class. It comes from people like the BBC. They hate everything about them. They hate where they go on holiday. They hate how they dress. They certainly hate what newspapers they read, and they generally hate which way they vote as well. So it's nothing to do with squeamishness. That suggests there's some decency behind this, and it's not. It's just another form of bigotry. Because if you took the shows which we all grew up on, for instance, Steptoe and Son, Only Fools and Horses, Alfieda's Own Pet, and presented them to the BBC now or ITV, they would chuck them out without looking at the script. Well,
no, they'd have to put a couple of mixed race characters, black characters, some trans characters, maybe a dwarf, I don't know, but they would find it acceptable then.
Yeah, possibly. In their original form, they would not get a second look.
Yeah.
But there are no brownie points to be had for sticking up for the working class. And as it is in television, so it is in society. The people who are struggling in schools now are white working class boys. And who the hell is going to stick up for them from the establishment? Certainly not the BBC.
Yeah, and we see the BBC is obsessed with their diversity quotas, which are vastly over-representative of minority groups, actually, in terms of, gay people, trans people, and, and ethnic minorities in the actual country at large. And yet they don't seem to care about representing people with different viewpoints. And in fact, I would say the biggest difference in people's viewpoints in this country is actually class. It's socioeconomic class. It's your life experience. It's the home you grew up in. It's the sort of school you went to. It's, again, your choice of your newspaper, your TV shows, your radio shows. And there is, you haven't used the word yet, but I think this is what it is. It's just snobbery. It really is snobbery. And this view, and we've seen this with these absolutely horrific riots that we've seen, which every right-thinking working class or middle-class person would be horrified by the violence. But some of the concerns about these issues raised by people who've never committed a crime and never would in their life, or would never support those rioters, that is just written off as, no, those are just horrible, ignorant, bigoted, racist views, even when it's got nothing to do with any of those things. And there's just this view that, again, people who voted for Brexit, people who, you just say, read certain newspapers or listen to certain radio stations, just don't know any better. And if only they were more like them and had their, I don't know, their focaccia and sourdough and avocados, they'd be nicer people. Oh,
yeah. You can put this to the test with anyone who claims they want more women in politics. You just say to them, all right, yeah, like Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
And you'll see their expression, well, not quite like her, no. It's more like someone who agrees with us about everything.
Yeah.
So diversity is nothing to do with it.
But what was the turning point when British politics, and particularly the Labour Party, set up, by the unions to represent working class people's needs and aspirations? What was the turning point? Which year? Under which prime minister? When did it change? Where working class people instead of being treated as salt of the earth, backbone of the country, people who, the people who were sent off to war to fight the wars to keep, to defend our freedoms, people who did the back-breaking work to build, the houses, the factories, and the farming to actually, give us the food and all of that. When did those people start being horrible people who, you know, had to be ignored and put down and you know and chastised for their views? When did that change happen?
I think it was about May the 13th, 1979, when Margaret Thatcher got into power. I might need to be corrected on that date, but when I think it was May the 3rd, because I went into the is it May the 3rd? Yeah, May the 3rd. I remember this because my birthday's May the 2nd. It was just before Aberdeen won the Cup Winners' Cup.
I love our references.
Which is a far more significant date, I might add. And she gave a sense of freedom to working class people, allowed them to buy their own council houses, to make money and not feel ashamed about it. So someone felt ashamed on their behalf and thought, well, hang on a moment, this wasn't the idea. They did what we said. They went off and fought wars for us. They didn't take their own decisions like this.
Brexit hasn't made that any better for these people. Here's the final question to you. Oh, my
God, no.
No, definitely not. Well, here's the final question to you, because when it comes to sort of the middle classes and the TV industry and all that lot, in fact, most of them are private, you know, public school kids now, rather than just average middle class kids, they want to improve the number of people, increase the number of people, women, black people, gay people, whatever the latest diversity quota is. It's always about quotas. It's about, you know, you have to appoint people over other people regardless of merit. Should they be doing that for the working class?
No, it's the last thing they should be doing. What will come of this is they'll make a couple of patronising dramas about the working class suffering, and they will be put back in their victim box, which is where they would like them to sit forever and a day. And that's the only result you will get from this speech.
You've absolutely nailed it, mate. TV critic at The Sun, Ali Ross, thank you very much indeed. Philip Ingram?
Well, interesting. I put the turning point slightly different. I'd say Maggie Thatcher started to give that freedom, but the turning point came whenever Tony Blair decided that you couldn't be a plumber or a bricklayer or a chippy unless you had a degree and sent you to uni. And the aspiration was
like us.
Everyone had to have a degree because it was all giving that equality.
And but also it was just everyone needs to be like us. That's what our values are, the only values.